Here we go again. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Coffee and Cannoli. We are back once again with the RLG Cast crew. We got Campo over this way, that way. We got Campo, who doesn't have a wrestling name yet. Then we got Caps, aka Muscles Marinara, making his return to the channel. I know how much he loves that name. So
I didn't know until now that it's actually my wrestling name, but okay, cool.
Well, it's your in-ring name. Coming in at 213 pounds, hailing from Toronto, Ontario.
I think my name is going to be Pickles Tuscadero.
Pickles Tuscadero.
So it's not all the way a ripoff, but it's like close enough.
Let's put Remy in front of it. I think Remy Pickles Tuscadero would work.
All right, we got that.
All right. On today's episode, we're going to be doing our top 5 wrestling games of all time, our top 5 favorites. We're going to do the same format we always do, 5-5-5, 4-4-4. Then after that, we're going to go into some honorable mentions, and then we are going to open the floor up for discussions and stuff like that. So who would like to go first out of you two gentlemen?
I'll go first.
All right.
He pointing forward.
That way.
The audience will go first. Okay, so I have no typical Caps fashion on this list, by the way. Number 5, I only know old wrestling games. WWF No Mercy.
Mm-hmm. Good choice. Caps, what do you got?
Oh, number 5, WWF Attitude.
My number 5 is WWE 2K13.
That's like a good one. Like, thanks.
Oh, fudge. I forgot about that one.
All right. So I'm on 4. Yeah.
4.
My number 4 is WWF SmackDown Shut Your Mouth.
Like what we tell you to do every day, right?
Exactly. It's a regular. I get used to it after a while. Might as well play the game.
All right. My number 4 is, I'll actually show it to you.
Warzone. Very nice.
Has a soft spot in my heart.
Oh,
that was pretty close for me.
Every time I see that image of Stone Cold, I think of the meme I sent to you the other day. Stone Cold Steve Harvey.
Stone Cold, that was good. Stone Cold Steve Harvey.
But my number 4 is Fire Pro Wrestling World, the new one that just came out recently with the New Japan guys.
Fancy pants. My number 3, continuing the theme, WWF SmackDown.
The first one, the PS1.
On the PlayStation 1, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I follow along the lines with what Campos is saying. Like, a lot of my games are pretty much old school, with the exception of actually one. But number 3, WCW World Tour.
Ooh.
Good one.
I forgot about that game.
My number 3 is the WrestleMania arcade cabinet.
Okay. Acceptable. My number 2 is WrestleMania Arcade, but on the Sega Genesis.
My number 2 is WWF No Mercy.
My number 2 is Here Comes the Pain, SmackDown.
My number 1, the greatest wrestling game ever made, WCW versus NWO Revenge.
I can't argue with that. That's my number 1. And
yeah!
My number 1 is actually No Mercy.
Okay, so we all had No Mercy on the list.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus, I think. No Mercy. Yeah, so we're going to get into some honorable mentions then. What didn't make your list?
Okay, so I'll give you my number 1. Well, okay, SmackDown Just Bring It. Like, I realize that it's not the best wrestling game, but it's probably my personal favorite. So I already have 2 SmackDown games on the list. So I was like, I'll keep the 2 better ones on the list and I'll just leave this one off. Even though I love it, I don't feel like it belongs on a top 5 list.
Agreed.
That first SmackDown that came out on PS1 was pretty cool.
Yeah. I feel the way they went towards the end before they did the whole SmackDown versus Raw type of games. Here Comes the Pain was like the pinnacle of those PS1, PS2 era games. So everything they did, like they had ladder matches in that, they had tables that actually break in that one. Like you can have, what is it, up to 8 people in the game at once without bogging down. Like that was something special. You can actually have a Royal Rumble match.
That was which game?
That was Here Comes the Pain.
Well, no, Just Bring It is the only game you could have 8 people in the ring.
Was it Just Bring It?
Yeah. And it also had, I wrote it down here, and it also has Fred Durst as a playable character.
Yes, he was unlockable.
And
yes.
some of the worst commentary of all time.
Yes, that was that Taz on commentary?
Yeah, in fairness, and Michael Cole or Jonathan.
Yes, Jonathan. Jonathan Coachman.
Yeah, and they just say things, so it's like, what a great match. He's Kurt Angle.
It's like that WrestleMania arcade game. All you hear is Vince McMahon go, "What a maneuver!"
Yeah,
what a maneuver!
Yeah, I guess that's true. But yeah, this game I remember for a fact because I wrote it down. All the SmackDown games are so similar.
Yeah, they just kept improving them.
Yeah, but SmackDown Shut Your Mouth is like where it was like, okay, we hit this. Like this is where it's gonna get special.
Yeah, I had a couple like the NWO Revenge, all those ones. They started really those wrestling games. Like we wouldn't have No Mercy if it wasn't for those NWO, WCW, Revenge, World Tour. I think that's what started that, and Acclaim just kind of took it from there and just improved on it. Like we didn't say WrestleMania.
To go backstage.
Yeah, WrestleMania 2000 was another one. Like it was just like No Mercy, right? Only they improved on it a bit. I think those rosters were stacked. Like you had 130 characters or something like that.
This is good. These are good conversations here because I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like with No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000, I mean, like they did take it to the next level, but I think where a lot of people had problems with those games was there was too many reversals. You could just reverse anything.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
You could do the infinite reverse where you grab someone from behind and then you can keep spinning around and go forever.
Right bumper.
So,
yeah.
Hey, Campos, you mentioned 2K. Which one was it?
I said 2K13.
Who was on the cover for that one?
That was the one with CM Punk on the cover with the Attitude Era, where you play through the entire Attitude Era.
Mm-hmm.
That's widely considered like the best wrestling game of all time.
So it starts with that famous Bret Hart Undertaker match at SummerSlam. And then just plays through the entire Attitude Era up until, I can't remember up until when, but I think WrestleMania 19 or something like that.
Oh, okay, cool.
But it plays through that whole era, and that one's just so much fun.
Now I have 2K14.
Right.
Which is also a good one.
Yeah. I remember I got that one because like, okay, Razor Ramon is going to be in that one. That's why I was like, okay, cool.
Yes.
And then they had the Undertaker streak.
Yeah, the WrestleMania one.
And then the WrestleMania storyline from WrestleMania 1 all the way down to...
yes, you play every WrestleMania.
Yeah. So I got that one on there as well.
Was that WWE All-Stars or was that Legends of WrestleMania? I don't know if you guys remember that game. That was basically a game with just wrestling legends, and you play like every WrestleMania up until like WrestleMania 30 or something like that, with every famous match that happened with all the famous wrestlers and stuff like that. So that one was a good one too. That didn't make my list, but it deserved some honorable mentions.
What game was that? Sorry, that you just said?
That was Legends of WrestleMania. I think it was a WWE Legends of something.
Okay, well, I had Legends of Wrestling.
That's the one with Hogan on the cover, right?
Yeah, that game sucked so bad. No. But me and my brother bought it thinking it was going to be all the Legends, and it was. So we had nothing else, and we played it to death, and it was so bad. But like, I had to put it in my honorable mentions.
That had poor mechanics. That really bad. Got to mention also the other arcade cabinet you had in your house. You had WrestleFest.
Oh, it's on my list.
Yeah, WrestleFest. I put on my honorable mentions because it's not really a wrestling game, but it's kind of wrestling. I put Def Jam Fight for New York.
I also put Def Jam Fight for New York and Def Jam Vendetta. So that's a fair.
Yeah, that's a fair call.
They're more wrestling games than they are fighting games.
Yeah, because you're actually doing wrestling moves.
There's a lot of grapples and stuff like that. I think that's fair.
I got WCW Nitro. Remember, like it was horrible. Like
that was another one.
It was like the play was horrible. But
Nitro was better than Thunder. Thunder was so bad.
Yeah, but I think one of the cool aspects of that game is when you defeat the tournament, you got this really cool video that comes out at the end of that tournament when you defeat the last wrestler.
champion. Yeah.
Yeah.
You defeat the champion and then you win the belt. Like they actually show a little. That was for you had it on what? Did you have it on the PS1 or did you have it on the N64?
PS1.
PS1.
Yeah, I had it on the N64, so it was a little different. They didn't show the video. With the N64, they just showed the graphic with the belt, and then, but with the N64 one, I think there were more characters in the game.
Yeah, I think that's what they did. They put more characters in N64, but you had the FMVs in
the PlayStation version.
PlayStation.
Yeah, because I remember after you defeat a certain tournament, you unlock the Disco Inferno ring for Disco Inferno, and it's like all these like flashing lights everywhere.
Yeah,
if anybody remembers the Disco Inferno.
There was a few good WCW games. There was a few good WWF games too. Okay, so at Warzone, I think I had the arcade, Sega Genesis, and then my first game after that was Revenge, and then I had Warzone. I bought with my own money. It was the first game I ever bought with my own money on PlayStation, and then there was one that came out right after that. It was called Raw as War, maybe.
Yes. That was I think it was on the PS2 or on the Xbox. I know there was one that was an Xbox exclusive.
No, what was the second one that came out on PlayStation? Because I also had that.
Warzone, I think it may have been.
Warzone, okay. So Warzone I had, and then I had that one, the Raw's War. It was on Xbox, I think.
Yeah, because I had the WWF In Your House for the Sega Saturn.
Oh wait, I think I had In Your House did it come out for Genesis as well? It was like a shitty version. Yeah, I had that as well then.
I think there were only like 4 characters or something.
Yeah, okay. What else do I have here? I'm gonna get through these fast. Shut Your Mouth is good. I said that already. I don't know why I said it again. Sorry. WWE All Stars.
Yes, that was a fun
game.
That's a more cartoony type of thing, but it had all the legends.
It had like so much stuff you could do in it, and I played it. My friend had it, so I never really got to own it. But I mean, I just want to talk about the arcade. What is it called? WrestleMania Arcade. That game is like maybe the reason that I started watching wrestling, because I was so young when I got that game. I was not even 10. I was probably like 7. Like I was watching Raw, and Raw was on Saturdays, right? It started on Saturday.
I think that was prime time. Prime time wrestling was on Saturday.
So yeah. And I started watching that. I don't even know when.
I know Raw debuted in '93, January of '93.
Yeah, but was it on? I don't know if it was on Mondays.
It was. It
always on Mondays.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, I basically started watching Raw almost at the beginning when it was in like that the small place like ECW had. It never changed venues.
The Hammerstein Ballroom.
Yeah, it never changed venues.
The Manhattan Center.
Yeah, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that game, it had a lot of good characters in that game too. You had Luger, you had the Big Boss Man, I think. Who else was in that one? Was it the Big Boss Man? I know it had Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, Undertaker,
Yokozuna.
I don't think Boss Man was in it though.
No,
Doink the Clown was in it.
Doink was in it. Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart.
Yeah.
And then there was.
That's where if you did the special move, they'd like shoot, like the Undertaker would shoot gravestones at you.
Yeah,
or something.
and if you
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah, he would shoot the fireballs.
When you hit Yokozuna, like food flew out of him, like pieces of chicken and shit.
Chicken legs would fly out of Yokozuna.
We played that game forever.
Yeah,
like that game was great.
Like that game, especially when it got towards the end. If you went after the world championship, you had to do those 3-on-1 matches. Those were
good luck. Good luck fighting 3 doinks.
Yes,
okay. You're not beating
with the hand buzzer. He would have that hand buzzer move.
You'd get buzzed by one, and then buzzed by another, and then buzzed by another, and it was like an endless cycle.
Game over after that. But gotta add what's it called? You gotta add Saturday Night Slam Masters on there by Capcom.
I never even heard of that.
That's the first appearance of Hagar from Final Fight.
Really?
Yeah,
it's
by Capcom. Look up Saturday Night Slam Masters. It's literally a Capcom wrestling game, and Hagar is in it from Final Fight.
Yeah, I just thought Hagar was from that.
Yeah, I know. He's like the mayor or something, and he's like, that's why they make the big deal that he's joining this wrestling tournament. And I forgot the name of the city, but yeah.
I thought he was just from Final Fight.
Yeah, it's written by the guy who wrote Fist of the North Star. So.
Really?
Yeah. The Day of Reckoning games on the Nintendo GameCube, which is a highly overlooked gaming console. They couldn't do the same things that SmackDown would do, but Day of Reckoning was a really good, like the first one was a really good game.
Nintendo did that to themselves a lot because they always had the least powerful system. I mean, with N64, they did have the most powerful, but they chose to use that power to, like, in the wrestling game, put more wrestlers instead of giving you the video
FMVs,
because it was so much easier to put video on a CD than it was into a cartridge. That's why barely any videos have or games have cutscenes in N64.
That was the whole reason why Final Fantasy VII left Nintendo and went to PlayStation.
Imagine trying to have 3 cartridges and you have to change them when you get to like the next
no,
part.
it had to be more.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't have worked.
It'd be like 10 cartridges. It'd be like when I don't know if any of these, if you guys remember this, but remember when you have to install DOS onto a PC, they gave you like 10 of those little diskettes that you had to keep changing.
I mean, it might have worked on the Nintendo disk system.
Yeah.
But
that
I just do remember that on the 64, like just games ran a lot more smoother though. Like as opposed to PlayStation where there was a lot of like loading time. Load would like last like
exactly.
Yeah.
So you get more loading time with the disc, but with the disc you have the ability that once it's already read what it has to read, it doesn't have to read the disc anymore. Where the cartridge is constantly like running information the whole time.
Yeah. And storage too, like much more storage. I remember with the N64, you had to buy that expansion cartridge just to play Star Fox.
Yeah,
was it Star Fox?
Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Kong, you couldn't even play it if you didn't have the
because you needed the draw distance in it. But that was, and Zelda was another one you couldn't play without that. So actually came with Zelda, didn't it?
No, I think it came with Majora's Mask.
Mask?
That's Zelda.
That is Zelda.
I'm thinking of Ocarina for some reason.
I just remember that even when I was playing with my friends, when we were playing wrestling games on PS1, like a lot of the time they would get turned off because every time you have to load up a wrestling match, it would take a good
it would take. And the thing too with the PS1, the original PlayStation, you had to buy an extra preferable to add more controllers, so you can only you had to buy the multi-tap or whatever it was called, right? Because you can only play 1 versus 1 at a time. Whereas the Nintendo 64, your buddy brings a controller because everybody had an N64 at the time. You just bring an extra controller and you go.
4 players was easier, was smoother. It didn't freeze. You freeze very easily on PlayStation. And it just worked better. It's a surprise that, I mean, if it wasn't for PlayStation, we would not be anywhere near the gaming stuff that we are with today, because we would have went the route of Sega Saturn probably, and it would have failed.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing Nintendo and Sony had a disagreement and went their separate ways.
Yeah, that's a lot too. Even Philips was going to make it with them, right? And then Philips backed out and then made the 3DO.
Ooh.
And then
was it 3DO or the CDI? Who had the CDI then?
I think they made CDI, Philips CDI.
Okay.
Yeah, 3DO was
Panasonic, maybe?
Panasonic.
Yeah, I just remember that terrible Zelda game on the 3DO.
Whichever one had the Zelda and the Mario games is the one that was supposed to partner with.
Yeah, with Nintendo. Yeah, those were bad. What else? I don't know. Anything else like in terms of like wrestling games? Like what are?
Yeah, let's talk about WCW NWO Revenge, man.
Yes,
that thing
I definitely
was
want to
like.
talk about that one.
You don't even have it on your list. You don't get to talk about it, okay?
It's on my number 1. You
clown.
But I mean, okay, World Tour, Revenge, No Mercy. It's the same engine, really, if you think about it.
That's true.
Right?
I'll allow it.
Because it was a huge deal when, was it Ukes Interactive dropped WCW and went to WWE.
Yeah.
Like it was like the Monday Night Wars in video games almost. It's like, you know how in Monday Night Wars people are changing, Rick Rude appears on Raw and appears on Nitro the same night. This is like, this is the company that made these 2 great N64 games for WCW and now made No Mercy, which is a lot of people, like including myself, arguably probably one of the greatest wrestling games of all time. Rose-colored glasses, nostalgia factor, all that as well into it too.
But if you're saying factor of like, let me put this game in now and compare it to what we have now. Well, okay, first of all, the 2K like 18 on games suck anyways. But
oh my god, go look up 2K21 glitches.
But anyways, that game what it did at that time is still insane. Like when you go back and look at it, regardless if it holds up, what it did for that time is what holds up. So I don't really see it as looking at it with rose tinted glasses because it's never going to hold up to what we have now. But if you just look what it was, I don't remember if you could go in the crowd, but I know you could reach into the crowd and pull out
grab weapons. Yeah.
And you could go under the ring and you could pull out weapons.
The special maneuver, you flick the analog stick to do your special move.
Yeah, and by the way, nobody knew that for the first
because it was not in the instruction. Yeah, they didn't say anywhere. I happened upon it by accident. It's like, how did I do that?
And then you had the little intro things. You had so many wrestlers, and they brought a lot of wrestlers that you wouldn't expect. Like Ultimate Dragon was in it. Ultimate Dragon, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah,
and it was like in other games you didn't have that kind of stuff. Like these guys were like they would have got pushed over to have like the bigger guys like DDP and stuff, right?
Yeah, you could have like your dream matches. Like because I was probably a little bit older at the time, I knew about the Ultimo Dragon Eddie Guerrero matches that they had in Japan or in Mexico, and now you can have these matches in game.
Yeah, and you had that Chavo, you had all those guys.
Yeah.
Did you have Psychosis in that game?
Yep, Psychosis, La Parca.
Yeah, I was friggin'
all the luchadors, man.
La Parca.
That was to me like that's what WCW was bringing that WWF didn't have. You had this wide range you had all the New Japan wrestlers were coming and stuff.
Yeah.
And WWF was like, no, we're just gonna show you Macho Man 80-year-old Hulk Hogan for like whatever.
WCW stole that from ECW, so
yeah.
I mean, but ECW was absolutely irrelevant. I mean,
at the time, yes.
It was an underground thing, man.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? So if you're going to talk about it like that, nobody ever would at that time would have been like, hey, you're copying ECW. No, because nobody even knew what ECW was.
Unless you had like local access cable, whatever it was.
Now looking back at it, you're like, oh yeah, they definitely did. But like before, nobody knew. Unless you lived in Philadelphia, you probably never heard of ECW until like the late 90s.
But going back to those WCW games, even little things where you can choose the arena to play in. Like you can do Halloween Havoc, you can do Super Brawl, you can do Bash at the Beach, which was
Bash at the Beach, right? The little palm tree things,
right? The Halloween Havoc had all the gravestones with the pumpkins and the jack-o'-lanterns and stuff, and like so you can choose which arena you wanted to play. You can do like a year's worth of pay-per-views and create your own. That's where you could start, like when they did fantasy booking and stuff like that. And that's where, like, I think the whole thing of fantasy booking now comes from is from those games.
Yeah. There's some great stuff in there.
Do you guys remember the other cheat, though?
Which cheat?
With the joystick? So you could get pounded on like crazy, but you can always get out of a pin if you just flick the joystick.
Yes, that I knew. If you had enough stamina.
There would be fights. I like...
Wasn't there a loophole around it? Like, couldn't you submit somebody and they couldn't get out of it, or couldn't you knock somebody out? Wasn't there knockouts?
Yeah, there was knockouts.
If you put that in there, yeah.
You can.
I remember because we never had that problem, so I'm figuring
First Blood, I think, was in it.
Yeah, there was a First Blood match.
Yeah. I just, oh man, that just brings back so many memories.
Sting and Raven, that was who I always was.
Raven,
like, don't even ask me why.
I was always Scott Hall or Kevin.
I was always Scott Hall. Yeah, my buddy was like me and my buddy were always a tag team. Okay, you couldn't like it was the perfect storyline. Like you could pretty much take this out of a wrestling storyline. Me and my buddy, like I would be Scott Hall, you would be Raven. I don't know how that happened, but weird tag team.
Raven's really good in that game.
Yes,
yeah, it's pretty good. But like
even Flow DDT,
we would always squeeze out a win. Like always, it doesn't matter how bad we get pinned on. I just remember this one time where, like, a buddy of mine who was very, very superior in the game absolutely destroyed us. And he made the big mistake of tagging in his partner, and we were able to just squeeze out a win. It was just, like, one of those things. Like, it's just...
So, did you have, like, I don't know what the word, but, like, did you keep track of it? Because, like, we used to have a thing that we hung up at Anthony's house, and it would have... Who's the champion? We called them by the WWF name. So there was champion, intercontinental, tag team, even though we were playing WCW.
Yeah. Whenever we were logging the game, it's in the game. It's like who's the champs? And
yeah,
me and my buddy was still the tag champs.
In Revenge, right? It was Revenge, not World Tour. Revenge, you were able to do that. Yeah,
I don't remember that at all.
Revenge,
yeah.
you could do that.
You literally choose which division you want to start in. So if you want to start in cruiserweight, you can do the cruiserweight and go all the way up to the top. And then after cruiserweight, you can choose a tag team partner and go after the tag team belts.
Yeah, but if you're facing each other, you can't put the belt on the line.
And I think you could. If you were the champion and the other guy pins you, yeah, you can give the belt would go to the other guy.
So you could. I didn't even know that. I honestly didn't even know that. We used to just write it down. We had a little chart thing.
Then, or you can start, I think, from the U.S. Championship, and you work your way through the ranks. Win the U.S. Championship, then when you win the U.S. Championship, you get put to the heavyweight division, and you go on. It's like
that's like that. There was arcade, WrestleMania arcade, then that Revenge, and then SmackDown Just Bring It, and then SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, and that's like. Those are the only 4 games that we ever played, like as large groups of people constantly meeting up to play games, and we never did that again, or for any other game except.
You also got to remember too. I have 2 younger brothers too, right? So the 3 of us, we would play like all the time. We'd have 3-way matches and stuff like that too. And I was the older brother, so I was used to cheat and tell them it's your fault, you're losing.
Yeah, I just remember like playing SmackDown and being like, my brother would get so mad because we'd be like on top of the cage and just be like angle slam, like, and it's over. I would just because I would always save my special,
right?
So that I would wait till like you're low enough health that you think you're gonna win the fight, but then no, I counter your move, and then I was always Kurt Angle or The Rock
because Kurt Angle had the high reversal rating.
Yeah, and he had a submission, so you always needed a guy with a submission finisher and a regular one, so that way that you could win either way, right?
So you can either submit or pin. Yeah, that's always the way to go. Mine was always Bret Hart because you can do submission or you can do
exactly
in the WWE games. And then when they
that's
started,
probably why I picked Sting because you could do the sharpshooter with Sting.
Yeah, so
Stinger, what's it called? The Stinger,
the Stinger Splash? No, the Scorpion Deathlock.
Scorpion Deathlock. That's a sharpshooter, bud.
Yeah, it's exactly it. That's exactly it. But
like Ric Flair, figure 4 around the ring post. Yeah.
Yes, Bret Hart was famous for the figure 4 around the ring post. That was good. Good times. Anyway, anything else to add, gentlemen? All right. On that note, then, thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Oh, before we go, anybody want to plug anything? Besides WWF Warzone.
We're going to plug WWF Warzone. Buy that.
Plugged it.
Just buy it, plug it in.
You can buy it on eBay, probably.
Yeah, that's our plug for today. Whoa! All right, cut this off before he finds any more games.
All right. Anyway, Campo, you can find Campo at Campo.Reviews on Instagram. RLG Cast, you can find us. And Nick Caps just left.
He'll be back.
I'm here.
He found something else.
He has He has to get back in the ring before the count of 10.
He has to get that marinara in the bowl before it melts.
Got the sauce.
There you go.
That's his thing, eh? Stand up on the ring.
And the wooden spoon.
Oh, no. You bring it to ringside. We have a whole character for you. This is amazing.
Okay, see you later.
I just come with a pickle.
Bye.
Right. On that note, guys, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.